This area right here is supposed to be a factory seam here, and it was supposed to just have a little bit of seam sealer in it that was just wiped, and so it actually did show on the factory vehicles. This one is a little crusty. The other side is filled straight over. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean those out and then just put the seam sealer in there like it's supposed to be. A lot of these, you can kind of actually see it. This is galvanized. The rockers were galvanized, and so they didn't tend to rust as much. The inner structure wasn't galvanized, and nothing else was galvanized, but these outer rockers were, so a lot of times you don't really see much rust in them. But go ahead and start cleaning that out and see what we have.
All it takes is one job, oh yeah. All it takes is one job, and everything is gonna be okay. Now we have to go, and it's time to go. I think that we all know that Johnny Boy is on his way. Jump in the car, Murphy is the gas. Doesn't take long before we hear the sirens blast, but we don't take off, 'cause there ain't no way.
I can't believe how centralized this rust is. Look at that. There's a hole there, but there is no rust around it. There's a little tiny bit right there, but really just nothing. Same here. I mean, how did this not rust out? Like, that's good metal. I'm not even gonna mess with that. Maybe the back, the inner part is what's gonna get us, because we got to get that inner part replaced in this section. It feels like it's still kind of together. There isn't even a hole back behind that one. But what I do want to replace is the inner piece that connects to the quarter right here. I want to get that part out of there so we can clean it and make sure that this part's going to be okay. If I can leave this and even leave maybe these spot welds, if I can clean the piece off of this side and spot weld it from the inside, maybe I might be dreaming, but I'd like to leave the original spot welds if I can. You know, it just helps with the originality of it, makes it a little more special, you know. So the thing would be to kind of cut these areas out a little bigger, see what's going on the inside of that. This is not healthy. We're gonna need to take out this part. Once again, we'll try to leave this inside here. We'll try to go here. We'll see how the rust is on this piece. If we have to, we can build this piece and then do our outside piece here. I told them to hold off on buying replacement pieces because they're such garbage that I think I'd rather just make the pieces. But so far, this one has a little bit of a line here. Maybe it's not supposed to. This doesn't. I have to check the other side if there's, it kind of looks like there's a line here, but maybe not. The inner piece is bad on this one too, though. But maybe not right down here. I'll have to take a look at it. So, this guy is just in really amazing shape for how close that rust is to it. And I was a little worried that it wasn't going to make it, so I did some templates of it, you know, before it got damaged, but I think we might be okay. Start working on this inside piece and see how we go. But I think that we might be able to save that. We'll try to. Alright, made our little piece. It's just bent and then stretch. Get it to where it will lay in there. We'll cut it, and then we might have to go back here and shrink this to get it to contour that edge right. I'm pretty sure we will have to do that, but it's got the kind of got the look. I ended up making 3 of these inner structure pieces. They're quite the deal. It's a compound curve in about every direction, and it's just a booger of a piece down in there. We're looking pretty good now. I really don't want to have to move a lot of stuff because, you know, try to form it kind of while it's on there because it's just so tight in there. I'm gonna have to move it around a little bit in order to get it right here. So kind of tack it and move it, even though it's really what I'm trying to avoid here, because I just don't want this to be deformed. But it's sitting in there and it's pretty lined up. We had to end up cutting this piece out even a little further so we can get in here and work this, you know, and get this welded in first and painted. Then we can do our outside piece. We got our rust mort in there. You can kind of see it's a little kind of glossy-ish. And then we'll do our spot welds on the bottom here. And that piece that overhangs a little bit, we'll clean up him after we're all said and done. Well, getting along with it for one day into it, starting on our second day here. And this car just keeps on amazing me, and just like its originality, but being used, you know, it just has like kind of like that little guy. You know, it's a little cross support bar that's just been pressed in there enough to start having a radiator seat, and like the grill's bent here, but that grill has to be crazy expensive, you know, being the correct original. And instead of, you know, the person messing with all this stuff and upkeeping it, it hasn't been touched. And that's kind of an interesting spot for it to be, you know, like it most definitely isn't molested. So we have a unmolested GT500 Shelby, but it has these things where I'd say probably, you know, 80-90% of it needs cleaned or worked on or repaired, or so you have this interesting class of surviving. We'd call it a very original survivor, minus the color. You know, it's just such a valuable vehicle, and it's kind of a interesting kind of spot, you know. Like you could sell this and buy 2 brand new Teslas, but in its current state, you know, it's kind of just barely hanging on. I don't know all the history on it. The fresher blue paint on the motor kind of says it's been rebuilt, you know. I don't know about the numbers or anything, but it doesn't sound like anything's ever been changed. An interesting combination of it survived in a garage, but still in a, you know, a dirty, a lot of it damaged state. I don't know, it's a neat car to be around in the fact of its value and rarity, you know, and the way he kept it. And it's really neat. I really like it. You know, rather than having it polished to death, it's just it is, you know. So, interesting car. It has an interesting smell of, you know, gasoline and old car. I noticed the GMs have their own smell, and as does this car. It has just a certain smell that is now kind of permeating the shop. I noticed when I walked in here today that the shop smells like the car now, and it's not a bad smell. It's an interesting smell, but it's like a interesting cologne, you know. But we're here to fix rust, and it's gone really well. I made 3 of these before I got that right. It was very hard because it curves out. It has that tight bend. I need to be able to weld this on without it pushing this, because if it pushes this, we're going to end up with the wrong contour to our wheel well. And with that piece, this little piece here surviving, you know, we're getting it back in there. We'd make our little piece to get that guy. We'll have to check out these. I still don't know if I want to buy a piece for that. But if I buy a piece, I know that this curve right here is going to be wrong. And, you know, I don't know if this curve will be right. Those aftermarket pieces, they're a start of what you need. Pleasantly pleased with how clean that turned out. You never know if there's going to be rust in there or whatnot. There is some filler in here. I don't know if it's covering up any kind of sin or if it's just a dent, but they didn't sand it enough. It's out where they put that filler. It wasn't blocked correctly. Yeah, I might need to check that spot. It's kind of looks like cancer, so I have to check that guy. But no, actually, let's check him. It's for sure a cancer spot, and there's more filler here. I don't know if that's filling any sin, or it might be filling up a cancer spot. I can feel the kind of chunky in the back here, so I might have to continue scraping that out and see what's actually there. I hate doing that. You know, we're trying to keep it very consolidated, but I don't want to send them home with any cancer in this thing. You know, with how centralized the cancer is, where it just seems to be in these fine areas where it's there and then it's not, you know. I mean, how does it not rust through this but rust out that? I have no idea, but that's what it did, you know. So we'll see what we end up with there. Most definitely need to do that little guy there.
All it takes is one job, oh yeah. All it takes is one job,